All right, thank you. Welcome to this work session for November 18th of the Webster City Council. We have no interviews tonight, so we're going to jump right in actually to reviewing the regular agenda. Is there anyone who has anything that they would like to talk about on the agenda?
We have a question about something on the consent agenda. Ask in there.
Yes.
Then no.
Okay. All right, then we will move on to updates from council members. Mr. Smith, would you like to begin for us?
No updates, Mayor.
Nothing from me, Madam Mayor.
Emily?
Nothing for me.
Of course I have updates.
This is the corner that always, me too. I mean, go.
There was a BDC meeting and I can't find my notes, so it went well. And lots of things were talked about. It was great. So yeah, and then I spent this morning at Hickson talking to the sustainability classes about city council and all things sustainability. So that was a lot of fun. And lots of great holiday things going on in the Webster Groves area over the next few weeks. So please go out and about and support our local establishments.
Right.
Great.
Let's see, Sustainability Commission met last night, and a couple things up to note. One is we were approached by Ameren to do a free casual energy audit of some of our buildings, and so Sean and David Bookless will be meeting with their representative to look at the Recplex Service Center and City Hall. String light recycling is starting on Thursday. There will be bins at Southwest Park and the Service Center. So it's from November 20th to January 23rd. And then finally, Old Orchard Holiday Festival is December 6th. And that goes from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m. It will end with a flipping of the switch and lighting the gazebo park. There will be a Find the Elf holiday party. Gateway Center for Performing Arts will be having a show at 4:30, among other activities from 10 to 5.
Including the Hickson Advanced Choir.
Okay,
Yes.
yes, you're correct, 4 p.m.
Are you flipping the switch?
And I'm flipping the switch.
The switch is, it's not down by the elevator anymore.
Yeah. We gotta get out there.
It's probably fan nose.
I hope it goes off, you know.
It will. It will.
Yes. So that's everything.
All right, Dr. Peoples.
We had the listening session for Ivory Crockett Park Splash Pad, last night. It was fairly well attended. Councilwoman Alexander was there as well. Don't know what it looks going to look like yet, but we're still figuring out additional public engagement because even though it was well attended, I think our survey we may have, please don't quote me, around 140-ish, and we would really like a lot more to be representative. Same is true of the other survey for the Memorial Park area. So looking at pushing that up, please continue to remind people to complete surveys as they can. Feedback's important, and it doesn't take long.
The Performance Park one is tomorrow, is the original end date, is that right?
Yes, it is.
And do you want us to push it out between now and then, or are you thinking of extending it?
Sorry, Joe. I just found out this afternoon for that survey, we've had 266 people.
Very good.
So yeah, I was really excited to hear that. I just found that out a while ago. So I was excited to hear that. As of now, the end date is tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So we'll talk about that if we extend it, but we're definitely talking about doing additional things for the Ivory Crockett. So only other ones, just a reminder, it's hard to believe that we're almost midpoint of the fiscal year. So internally, we're already doing a lot of prepping for upcoming budget season, having our conversations internally about capital improvement and just really seeing where departments are right now. As you all know, expenses in certain areas, commodities, goods have increased quite a bit. So just really trying to figure out where we are and having those early discussions. So.
I'm going to add one on yours because it was in your Friday update, and hopefully everybody. Stormwater Commission. We still need to get out and ask people to apply.
I have nothing to update there.
Okay, I've got a few things. I sent you an email about Mayors for Meals, which is 2 weeks before Christmas food drive it doesn't overlap at all. I was afraid it might overlap with what was going on in Parks and Rec. I got only positive feedback, but I would like a commitment from council that you'll really help spread the word on that. And if we put together an event, if maybe a few of you will join me accepting goods in the parking lot here or something like that on the Saturday in the 2 weeks. All right, so we'll get ourselves all registered and I'll be back in touch with you on that.
I have one other thing to do, let me finish.
Why don't you go right now?
No, you go ahead and finish.
Okay, well, don't let me move on if I did a question and answer at Laclede Groves. One of the really interesting things that came up is several members who live at Laclede Groves suggested that we take a little bit of a look at their contribution to the city and property taxes, because early on they gave us some voluntary donations and that seems to have ceased. So it might be something that we should take a look at. I thought it was interesting that it actually came from their residents as something, and overwhelming discussion of how much they appreciate our firefighter paramedics and the work that they do. I was at the East West Gateway annual meeting last week. Got updates on Save Lives Now, which is the crime initiative that is a city, county, community league, East West Gateway collaborative efforts, and the early results are pretty darn good. And they've only implemented one of several stages. So hopefully we'll see some benefits to that as well. They also highlighted the regional homelessness initiative that East West Gateway is serving as convener for. It looks like it could be a very good program. It is not yet operational, but they seem to think that they will be operational in a couple of months. And then there was all the big counties that belong to East West Gateway sent representatives to an elected leaders panel where they talked about collaboration, and no one once mentioned a municipal government. And I asked how and why, how we could help. And the answer was from Sam Page that he has monthly calls with the Muni League. So I'm not sure they're thinking a lot about the municipal part of this. So I would encourage you to talk to county level leadership if you get the chance that we be part of that conversation.
What's that called? The conversation.
Well, it was just, they're all on the board of East West Gateway. So it was their leadership panel for East West Gateway. It was, and I don't think you can get a recording of it. I don't think anyone was recording, but you know, it was nice to hear that they really want collaboration. It was less nice to hear that it, you know, the other governments really being.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that is. And then there was no TAC. So Mr. Emerson Smith.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. When you mentioned about the food drive, just Webster Rock Hill Ministries, we will be giving out our annual Thanksgiving boxes to the community on the 22nd, this Saturday. We're anticipating up to 300 families this year. We did put the word out with the community. Community has stepped up just great for getting all kinds of canned goods and things of that nature. Right now we're working to get each family their box ready and a turkey. So it's our normal weekly food for residents and others. Maybe we might see 25, 30 families. They've been peaking over 60. So the crunch has been hitting almost everyone. And what they're doing, found out, excuse me, other food banks, well, go try here, and they always try here at Webster Rock Hill Ministries. Whatever we have, we share. So just that tidbit that we'll be giving out Thanksgiving baskets.
Is there a preference for food versus cash? Like, do you all buy your own food at lower prices than what we could buy it for, and cash is better, or just anything is great?
Well, normally we get anywhere from 3.5 to 4 tons of food every month from the food bank. This month we got maybe a little bit under a ton. So, like I said, the community and other churches, they've been stepping up with the different vegetables and things that go into the basket box for Thanksgiving. So yes, we right now we're asking for funds so we can make sure everybody have a turkey or something in the box. So it was, I mean, I was just blown away as to the number that is planning to come to the ministry on Saturday.
The need is great, and that reduction of the food bank shows you how far things are being stretched too.
Yep.
Well, that 300 is more than height of COVID Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, yes. So, but just spread the news to those that need, and then spread the news to your neighbors if they want to give to the West Rockville Ministries. You're more than happy, so to accept their donations.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to our topic. Our first topic is the Great Rivers Greenway Shady Creek Greenway design.
Well,
Hi, gentlemen.
chime in real quick. I
Yeah,
just wanted to
please.
do a brief introduction and kind of go over an overview. And then Tom from GRG and Corey from SWT will be doing a brief slideshow presentation. As you all know, this project has been in works for quite a while. We wrapped up our second public input about a month and a half ago. Been compiling all the data. I believe we had around 350 survey responses, which was terrific. We were very excited, and it was a good positive outturn from the community. I just want to reiterate, this will be a small stretch of the Greenway from Elm, apologize, from Elm to Rock Hill, just that small stretch along Shady Creek, in conjunction with the MSD project that will be going along Kirkham. And then we'll be breaking out the medians there from Elm to Rock Hill. And we thought, what better way to partner with SWT and GRG and MSD to kind of collaborate during that process to help alleviate that road being closed from MSD project, and then having it reopen and then shutting it back down to have GRG and SWT come in and do a design. So we're excited about this project, and I'll turn it over to Tom and Corey.
Thanks so much.
Gentlemen, I'm gonna have you come sit up here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, who stands?
Do you guys want a mouse or do you want to tell me to advance?
I can take a mouse, that's fine. So thanks so much, James, for the introduction. Just to introduce myself, my name is Tom Schweiss. I'm a project manager with Great Rivers Greenway.
And my name is Corey Murner. I'm a landscape architect and project manager with SWT Design.
Yeah, and thanks for your time today. We're excited to give you guys a bit of an update about the new Shady Creek Greenway project. We'll talk a little bit about progress made so far. We'll give a little bit of an update on engagement and kind of talk about some next steps. But first, I just kind of want to, for folks in the room who maybe aren't familiar with Great Rivers Greenway, just a small introduction about Great Rivers Greenway and kind of how we operate. So Great Rivers Greenway, we're a regional tax-funded public agency whose mission is to really connect the St. Louis region with greenways. We operate in St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and St. Charles County. We have over 135 miles of greenways in our network that are built so far, and they're built in partnership with municipalities. So we work very closely with municipal partners. We've been in partnership with Webster Groves for many years on a lot of different projects, and we really couldn't bring these projects and deliver them to the public without support from our municipal partners as well. So again, we've got lots of miles of greenways. We're continuing to build out this network, and really our goal is to connect the St. Louis region and connect folks to their parks, connect folks to their neighborhoods to get people outside and impacted. I talked about how we've been working with the city of Webster Groves for a long time. You can tell this image is very dated. So this is from all the way back in 2006 on our Shady Creek concept plan. So you can see a lot of those green spaces that are called out in the Shady Creek concept plan: Deer Creek Park, Barnacle Park, Ivory Crockett Park, Shady Creek Nature Sanctuary, Larson Park, and Lorraine Davis Park. These are all parks that we're hoping to connect through the Deer Creek and Shady Creek greenways. We've made a lot of progress so far. We've built greenways in Deer Creek Park, up to Barnacle Park, and down to Lorraine Davis Park so far. So what we're hoping to do is kind of build on those connections that we've been making already and continue to extend the greenway. We've got Oxford Bend project that's happening in the city of Webster Groves right now at Oxford and Big Bend. And we have a planning effort to take the Deer Creek Greenway up from where its existing location up to Tillis Park. That is underway now, but that's a few years down the road. So kind of zeroing in, well, I do want to show some precedent images from already existing greenways. So this is the Deer Creek Greenway at Deer Creek Center. Here's the bridge that crosses from Deer Creek Park in Maplewood over to the city of Webster Groves. Oops. Another image from Deer Creek Park. This is Lorraine Davis Park. You guys are probably all familiar with this. You can see the boardwalk there and the greenway, people out using it, and the lovely pavilion there, also in Lorraine Davis Park. So the proposed project area that we're studying right now, again, is from Lorraine Davis Park on the north end all the way down to Larson Park. We're really zeroing in on our phase 2, which is going to go from Elm to Gore. So it's really that frontage along Shady Creek Nature Sanctuary. And we feel like this is a good opportunity for us to look at this project and really look at advancing it because of the work that MSD is doing with the sewer replacement project. So you can kind of see the map here. And I should have mentioned earlier, just on this other slide. So you can see these other kind of like big regional greenways that are kind of all around Shady Creek. And we hope to, after we're finished with this project, really extend Shady Creek Greenway all the way down to Grabway Greenway to make this like really large regional connection where folks could, hop on their bike in Webster Groves, ride to Grabway Greenway, go down to River to Pear, make this big loop and come back home. That's years down the road, though. Don't get so excited. So again, this slide just kind of really illustrates our project limits. So you can see here this dotted orange line here. This is the focus area for phase 1. Again, this is between Elm and Gore along Kirkham Road. It's 0.36 miles. That's the area that we're going to be looking at advancing design first, and we go into construction first. And then kind of concurrently, we'll be also looking at a future connection up to Lorraine Davis Park and then down towards Larson Park. And the reason these are kind of just highlighted in orange is because we don't know what the route is going to be right now. That's going to be part of our process, is to kind of look at what our options would be for alignments, vet them with the community, vet them with officials, vet them with the design team, look at them from the technical feasibility standpoint, and then pursue those alignments in the future. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Corey to kind of talk specifics about our process so far.
So like all projects, what we usually start with what we call a opportunities and constraints map. So this is where we'll kind of walk the site, analyze it not only from the physical conditions that we can see, but the information that we can gain through open sources like GIS, things like that. With this, what we do is we try to come up with some level of understanding of the things that could happen within the space. That being the opportunities and what some of the constraints are that we might, not be able to really force with some of these things. So some of the high level things that we notice just from this analysis, if you will, is that there are a large number of intersections when you look at this holistically across the section we're looking at from Elm to Gore. A lot of intersections, a lot of driveways on the north side. Obviously, the south side has a Shady Creek Preserve, so we're not as many intersections, don't have to deal with that as much. The existing median there, which we know will be removed with part of the MSD work, does give us an opportunity to potentially bring in that greenway without having to take any additional property or anything like that, or at least that's what we're looking at initially. And then the big thing I would say are the intersections at Gore and Elm, just with the high traffic, especially at Elm, and understanding how the current project will terminate and how that might branch off in the future. So just thinking about what's the best opportunity we can leave this first phase to give us an opportunity to move into the second phase. So with that, what we ultimately did was come up with 3 alternatives, which we took to an open house in, see if I can remember the date, September.
Yeah.
And those 3 alternatives really looked at 3 different ways of how we could fit this greenway into this section. The first one really looked at doing a true on-road condition, really kind of a bare bones. If we wanted to put it in tomorrow, what could that be? So essentially just putting in a concrete median and running it along the south curb. Second alternative was to raise it up off street level and kind of give a little bit of a buffer there, a separation between the roadway and the greenway, just to increase safety and overall, just the perception that you more or less are increasing the idea of Shady Creek Preserve by doing that, just the visual of it. And then the last option, we actually took the greenway and kind of brought it into Shady Creek, just to give a little bit more engagement and basically highlight that as a more of an asset. So during the community, the open house, these three options were kind of reviewed. We got a lot of feedback on those. From what the feedback came in from the community as well as the design team in GRG, the preferred alternative was the alternative 2. And when I say the preferred alternative, that's what we selected to advance to try and look at it at a deeper scale. So what you're looking at right now is that second alternative, which, as I said, basically raises the greenway up to sidewalk height and separates it from the roadways, just with the addition of a planted median. As part of the open house, and for about a month after that, we actually had a survey that went out to the community asking a series of questions. I think it was about 12 questions. With that, we got roughly 360 responses, if I'm remembering correctly. Some of the things that we asked within that is generally, how supportive are you of building a greenway along this section of Kirkham? We had about 87% of the respondents either saying they are strongly in support or moderately in support. So that's how we came up with 87%. Roughly, once again, about 87%, 85% said that they did agree that doing this phase right now in conjunction with the MSD work was a good idea. Interestingly enough, the person we always wanted to ask to make sure that there was an understanding that the MSD work was going on. So about 40% of the people that responded didn't know that MSD was doing the work along there. So I think that helped us reframe the way we were maybe discussing the project just in that next open house, just to clarify that a little bit, and also invited MSD to that next open house. With that, we also looked at what the top priorities are and what the top concerns are. So in descending order, the top priorities are pedestrian and bicycle safety, destinations and connectivity, and then environmental or sanctuary protection. That kind of was a recurring theme, is not to encroach too much within the sanctuary, because a lot of people felt like it was already getting constrained a little bit from the original plans. With that, the top concerns very similarly are connectivity, environmental protection, and then safety. Anything else you want to add to that?
I don't think so. I mean, we did hear loud and clear from folks that they really care about Shady Creek Nature Sanctuary. That's like something that people really want to preserve. They really are concerned with safety. They want connectivity in the community. So all the highlights there.
And I will say, although alternative 2 was once again, what we would say generally was a preferred alternative, there was some level of at least, I'm going to say, preference to engaging the sanctuary, maybe providing it as something that there could be moments where somebody could learn about it as they're going along the greenway.
And we'll show some images of what that looks
like. So following this, we moved into what we call a refined design, where we took that alternative 2 and just truthed it out a little bit more. So with this, what we're really looking at is introducing the idea of these gateway nodes, both at Gore and at Elm, almost a small kind of plaza space where it gives you a little bit of a moment to stop and pause before you decide where you're going from each of these points. Sanctuary nodes, which is the number 2 in the orange dot, which are the small kind of almost informational signage, seating, bike racks that would be positioned along Shady Creek, maybe encroaching just slightly, just depends on how the scale of those. Ultimately, we will kind of decide to locate those based off of mature vegetation or any type of physical features there that may impact in a negative way the sanctuary. Number 3 would be improved crossings. So really looking at Elm and Gore again, and then the for lack of a better term, the Gore access ramp, the triangle, just how we can make those intersections a little bit more safe. So the reason way we can do that is by shortening the crossing lane and really making those intersections at a 90-degree, those cross sections at a 90-degree angle. Lane modifications with this, what we'd like to do is try and figure out how we can tighten those lanes down just a little bit. And then ultimately the idea with that is to try and get traffic to slow down a little bit across there. Biggest thing that slows cars down is other cars. So keeping those things together and making sure that's something that we look at. And then the last piece was the idea of potentially adding a single, not two, but a single mid-block crossing, either potentially at Claiborne or Hillside. Really just thinking about this for the residents that are on the north side to not have to go necessarily down to Gore or Elm to get across. So one of the things that we did ask for input back from the community during this second open house was the importance of parking remaining on Kirkham. We had originally thought that just based off of at least a first understanding that parking generally on both sides of the street was underutilized. Coming out of that, it did sound like that at least there was a lot of concern about removing all parking. So we basically came up with the two alternatives to provide input about removing all parking or keeping a parking lane on the north side of Kirkham. As we kind of expected with that, it was a fairly resounding, yes, let's keep parking on the north side of Kirkham. So the cross section that you're looking at here is ultimately what we think we're going to be as the baseline or standard cross section for the Kirkham corridor here, where there'd be about a 9-foot parking lane on the north side, 2 drive lanes, a 10-foot plus or minus vegetated median, and then a 12-foot in total greenway. By keeping that on-street parking, we are going to have to encroach into the sanctuary slightly by about the 9-foot width of that parking lane. But just from a visual standpoint, you're probably all have driven past there and you've noticed that there's a turf grass kind of buffer that's on that north side or the south side. Basically, we'd encroach about that distance, just from a visual standpoint. And then any type of these sanctuary nodes that we decided to put in would encroach slightly further into that, but that's something that we're going to look at in terms of the quantity and location of those ones.
And this was, just real quick, this was really based on community feedback. They especially were concerned about the tree removal that's going to happen in along Kirkham. So we felt like this was a good opportunity to basically shifting the median to create that vegetated buffer, which we hadn't really considered as an option for this greenway, but we're glad that we did. So yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
I completely glossed over that. So just some very quick high level visuals of what we anticipate this speed looking like. Please once again take these with a grain of salt as they are meant to be aspirational rather than nuts and bolts exactly what it's going to look like. Obviously the sanctuary would be the left of this and Kirkham would be on the right. And then just a very small visual about what those sanctuary nodes ultimately may look like. A series of benches, some bike racks, and then potentially some informational sign, not only about the sanctuary, but potentially stormwater management, biodiversity, things like that to really highlight the reason why that sanctuary is so important. So I know I went through that fairly quickly, but the next piece that we just wanted to briefly touch on is where we go from here. So with the end of the open house, we basically submitted a planning phase report to GRG, and we're working on the next phase of the project, which ultimately would take us through, as we see it right now, early design. So that's where we're going to have a lot of conversations with county roads, MSD, things like that to understand what we can do from some of the lane modifications that we're talking about, as well as any type of traffic controls that we need to modify within the adjustments to the intersections that Elm and Gore. And then with that, once we get that understanding, we'll have a baseline kind of design, a little bit further refined level of design from the one you just saw. And then once we get that level of approval, very likely come back to an open house, present that once again as kind of a final, here's the concept, let's talk about this before we move into those final stages of design implementation.
I do have one question, and I'm not sure whether it's for the two of you or whether it's for city manager. you've got the Elm Culvert happening. How do these projects,
And Gore.
well, Elm, we actually already have the money for, right? Do we have money for Gore too? Not yet, yeah, so do we know how this is gonna time-wise line up and how much difference will it make?
The culvert will be done before MSD comes in and does theirs, and then MSD in this, 4 block section with, GRG would be after that. So.
I'm amazed that they line up that nicely.
And that intersection will be closed while the culvert's being replaced, right?
Correct, on the Elm side at least, Kirkland will still be open, the Elm coming this way will certainly be closed.
Right.
I have a couple questions. The trees in the buffer, I know that that has been a concern and people love the trees, but I also know that it was really hard for parks to maintain, that it's not safe to mow that narrow area, and that was one of the reasons that we were okay with the medians coming out. So I'm a little concerned about putting trees back in a narrow median, that's gonna have to be mowed. Just wanted to raise that. What it's worth.
This, flip back to
Yes,
that,
absolutely.
I mean, it wouldn't be in between two driving lanes.
That's what I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah.
So the biggest problem right now is you can't discharge grass because it goes into a lane of traffic, so you have to stop anytime the car is coming or
Yeah.
anything. At least with this way, you'd still be able, if you were mowing grass, if that was turf grass that you had to mow, you could theoretically blow it onto the greenway and then blow it back off the greenway.
And it looks like at least at this
yeah.
stage that it's pretty flat and even between the median and the walkway, so you wouldn't have to like go up a curb.
Right,
and mow or
yeah.
anything.
And ideally, that wouldn't even be turf grass. We'd
Thank you.
have something that's not turf grass, it's not a weekly maintenance item, but we're not.
That was my
We're not
next
always
question.
there into the time phase yet. Yes.
Visual buffer. Another kind of related is people have been concerned about the loss of traffic calming that the current median does or is perceived to do. Do we know what we expect to happen to traffic with this change?
So in general, I will agree with this, and I'm gonna just give a high level of how I take traffic calming related to the median and what we're proposing. Medians do a good job of separating traffic. They don't do a good job of slowing traffic. Because there's less opportunities for conflict. So let's call it the cone of view is a lot wider. What we're trying to do with this is actually narrow the lanes. So, and then you're gonna have cars basically coming at each other. And as I said previously, cars are the best deterrent for cars going fast. So by keeping the on-street parking and bringing those lanes together, we're actually essentially bringing 3 layers of cars to slow cars. And then with the introduction of the vegetated median, you're also having the trees there that once again narrow the field of view as you're driving. That's the biggest thing about slowing traffic is narrowing perceptive viewing for drivers. They feel a lot safer going faster when they can see a big line.
That's helpful. On the parking, I know at this stretch, the preference from people has been to keep it on the north side, but the next stretch, which I know we're not, I know. But the next stretch, the preference is to keep it on the south side, I believe, because the whole community is there and they use that for parking. What do we need to do at this point in time with this project to make sure that whatever the next step is,
Yeah.
we are able to accommodate that or pivot or whatever that might be?
Sure. I mean, I think that that's noted for sure. I mean, we're going to go through the whole engagement process again with the community. I feel like we've done a good job so far of listening to what folks, the input that folks have for us. So yeah, we'll just,
I mean, is there a possibility of having this parking lane be next to the tree line instead of next to streets, and that way it moves into the south side once it crosses 4?
I can say, at least not speaking for GRG, is there's an opportunity for just about anything to happen from Elm to Lorraine Davis and then from Gore to Larson. And we're not even saying that it may have to stay on Kirkland or Brentwood when we move that or when we start looking at those
Okay.
steps. So
Lily, were you suggesting in this stretch, moving the parking lane so you cross traffic after you park?
I mean, it's not ideal. I'm just trying to figure out if we want the parking lane to be on the
to
south
be
side
contiguous.
after Gore. How do we do that?
Yeah, it sounds like,
I
to
mean-
meet everybody's preference, it can't be contiguous.
Yeah.
Right.
I would, yes, and I would argue that the whole community Webster's uses that parking a lot more than anybody else
Yeah.
from Rock
Parking
Hill.
lane,
to-
yeah.
So that's why, I know
Yeah.
we're doing this section first, but I definitely wanna
And you're talking about from Gore.
to Rock Hill.
Oh, yeah, right. And we may not, like to Corey's point earlier, we've got this whole big highlighted area in here. We may end up going up Gore to Lockwood, to get into Larson Park from the south side. We really don't know at this point.
And I love that idea.
And the more support we can get.
I think that's great. I think getting it closer to the business district is good. Utilizing the lanes we already have on Lockwood is good. And finding the path up the hill that makes the most sense is good because Rock Hill is hard. You're not gonna be able to go through the Lockwood, this area is too small, all those things.
It's challenging. I mean, the topography is another factor that we haven't really talked about too much, but I mean, we try to keep everything as accessible as possible. Sometimes we have to make exceptions just because that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Geographical.
Get
So.
a little gondolas and
Yeah.
take it up the hill.
T-bar, we'll get a T-bar.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, any other questions?
I did have a question.
Yes.
On the site plan, the one that's more,
This one.
yes. Has it been come under consideration to maybe complete that little west side of Gore to kind of mirror the east side so that we don't,
Oh, to
so that we
continue,
could
to continue to the other
at
access.
least to that
the other side.
triangle. Yeah, kind of make it a little bit more finished looking there.
So within the first open house, we looked at the potential of doing that. We backed off from that from a design standpoint, not knowing where we're gonna go from Gore. So if we decide to go north or south on Gore, we don't want to have that completed. And then you have this
Yeah,
little
yeah,
spur that kind
yeah.
of goes off.
Right. What is like the time frame between finishing this and maybe considering the rest of how to continue?
That's a good question.
That's a you.
Yeah,
Really exciting.
I mean, I think, it could be a little while. I would like to, I mean, this section is advancing. Perhaps we'd start looking late 2026, 2027, something like that, maybe.
So that's
year or
fairly
so.
recent. I mean, that's
Yeah.
fairly
I mean,
soon.
in a geological time, yeah.
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah, yes.
GOG's bringing this phase forward for us just because that MSD
Yeah.
Yeah.
potential partnership. Otherwise, this whole phase would probably be 5 years out.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're really moving this up to try to capture that synergy and potential cost savings with MSD and the city and GRG working all together.
And then just one more question, south of the Greenway where we've got the nodes and then we've got the spaces in between. Who maintains that and how far south? Will the city be maintaining
Yeah,
that whole, everything?
Yeah, the city will
South
be
of there.
maintaining at the
Okay.
end of the project. The city will enter into an O&M agreement with the city. They'll be maintaining really everything.
Okay.
And there's an existing footpath through the sanctuary, right? Ish.
Informally.
Informally.
There is trails through there, but there's nothing formal.
And this would change that, those trails could continue to be
Yeah,
trails that they want to.
Literally.
I did notice you didn't have any honeysuckle represented in this.
I know, I didn't.
You can make that magic.
Chief responsibility is honeysuckle around.
Be fantastic.
Yes, and just to clarify, and I apologize if I already said this, the timeline for MSD project and then this is next calendar year?
MSD will start next year, but they're starting all the way down by the service, by the
Yes.
Metro Garage.
Yes.
There probably won't be up to this section until very late 26, early
Yeah.
27.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then another 6 to 9 months to finish to Gore.
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
So end
Yeah.
of 27, calendar year 27, we're thinking. And then it is possible that you could have just this island for,
Well, yeah, and that's kind of why
Wow.
I'm saying we want to initiate that sort of deeper planning effort on those two ends to continue that sort of momentum, right? We don't want to have just this segment of greenway that's just hanging out in space without any real connection.
So the disruption of the traffic right now, so what would that look like? I mean, what's gonna be closed off? So what's gonna be open and available for transportation during that time.
During construction of our project,
Mhm.
I don't know, we haven't really.
Yeah, I say we're not
Yeah.
there, but knowing that we're not really affecting the north curb line, there's gonna be some lane modifications, so ultimately I would say not knowing exactly, both lanes should be able to remain open traffic. It may mean that the parking can't be there while construction's happening. So we can get basically the south line completely built, and at that point it would open up. I'm not gonna say that there won't be times that traffic may be impeded, but for the most part, I believe we should be able to get traffic throughout construction.
Right, any other questions? Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank
This
you,
is
guys.
exciting, and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate how much you've interacted with the community to get us to this point.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Thanks, you
yeah.
guys.
Thank you.
I'll revert to my.
All right,
No.
we have Deputy City Manager Davis, and we're gonna review some of our new revenue stream discussion with the hope that
Uncomfortable.
it makes the decision. It's a very quiet.
All right, thank you. I'm presenting tonight, because Mr. Donovan is not available, so I'm stepping into his shoes and trying to do him justice. Most of this is a recap of the May 2025 presentation by Gilmore Bell. And Shannon's presentation. So we basically brought this back with three taxes from that original May meeting. There were three potentials that we thought council might be leaning more towards after that original discussion. So the first one of those was the economic development sales tax, maximum rate of 1/2 cent. Purposes, anything economic development related, which is pretty wide open. Simple majority. We would need to create a board, and that board would then approve a plan, which would then come to council for adoption. It is an advisory. We'll get to some more meat and potatoes on all this towards the end with dollar amounts and such. But at least 20% of that revenue would have to directly go towards acquisition of land, stormwater infrastructure, matching federal state dollars, things of that nature. The other 80% could be used for pretty much anything that would potentially drive economic development in the city. That could be landscaping, that could be beautifications, that could be a whole host of other things.
Great.
Mayor and council, while they're working on that, Mr. Davis jumped right on in this. There was just appreciated, just as a reminder, and I know you guys know this, but for those watching, council's long been discussing additional revenue options as we look at taking a burden off of the general fund, just because the cost of things have increased, whether it's in the cost of employees, healthcare, all of that. And so we're not bringing in revenues to keep up with those costs, which is common across municipalities. For those who may be watching, and I hope they're watching in droves, this is not just a immediate discussion. There has been well over a year's worth of discussion to get to this point, and for council providing staff some direction.
Sorry, it wasn't displaying right online.
It's up there. That's good. Thank you. Actually, I might jump back just to talk about the board. So it is an advisory board. 3 members appointed by the city, 1 by the school district, and 1 member by county. If you could go this route.
That by law.
Yes. Yes. So the voters have to approve the sales tax. We create the board. The city staff would prepare a plan. The board would then hold public hearings, make recommendations, and council would have the final approval on that plan or any spends out of that revenue.
And I'm just asking this question because the school district and the county are involved in the appointment process. They have no, no right to the revenue stream, correct?
No, I mean, the revenue would have to go towards economic development in the city
Which is determined by this council, right?
and the board, yes, the recommendation of the board, but ultimately, yes, by council. Second one would be a fire sales tax. We currently have a fire sales tax. We're collecting 0.25%. We have an option to increase that by law up to 0.5%. It would solely go towards fire services to offset general fund dollars. That one's pretty big. Sorry, any questions on that one? There's only one slide on that one. The last one.
I do have one quick question. So with the fire sales tax, could it go to the monitoring stations or?
ECDC and dispatch.
Yeah.
It could go to offset the fire portion. You're saying no of ECDC.
I don't think it would for dispatching unless you were to dedicate it solely to dispatching, which it's not, which is policing. So I think for the dispatching,
ECDC? Pay about 60,000 to ECDC solely for fire. So it could offset, I think it could offset
Perhaps.
the fire portion only, not police.
perhaps it is dedicated to fire. And I suppose if you could, yes, I'd have to look at that, but it's not obvious. It's not obvious from
Sorry.
from the statute itself that it will allow that. The answer is maybe. Firm maybe.
We probably have enough other fire expenses that we would need to.
We do. Fire's cost in ECDC
Yes.
is very small. The majority is police. To answer your question, but
And that could go to any other expense that's solely related to fire
correct.
department, maintenance, salary, trucks.
And there's a bunch.
Yes, it's absolutely.
And the last one would be a transportation district, TDD. That would be a separate political body. So this body would actually be formed and they would control all the spends. It is limited to any transportation related project. Normally they would levy a sales tax that could be up to 1%. And there's likely quite a bit of ongoing annual compliance. Typically, these are done on new retail developments, things of that nature to build out the infrastructure for that. There are some cities that more recently have been doing it on older projects or other projects that aren't retail. For instance, City of Kirkwood just did one last year for 15 years, and it's going to go towards overall street. The entire city of Kirkwood is now a TDD, and it will help renovate all the roads in Kirkwood for those 15 years.
So if something like that is approved, so and I'm thinking in terms of where my brain is going with a comprehensive plan. And we're talking about opportunity districts that we have, whether it's right there at Elm and Watson, or if we were looking at, Gore and and Pacific, or either Yorkshire Plaza. So if we chose then to use that for something like that, if you passed that in I guess April or something like that, could those funds be set aside for something like that? Or once you do that, because that's what I'm thinking, if we're looking at development, commercial development or areas using this to help with some of that cost and those opportunity developments for it.
Well, so it would be the infrastructure related thing.
Yeah.
But it couldn't be like, what kind of infrastructure are we talking about? Probably just surface.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at Scott too, because I'm not sure.
So for a TDD, you can do anything that's transportation related. So it could be lights on the street, would be helping the cars see while they're doing transportation. Maybe utilities to go along with that. Stormwater, if you've got street side issues that are streets are flooding, you can use it for stormwater projects to mitigate that flooding on that transportation project. But it's really just transportation related items.
but you could pool it too. And so if you had a plan, you can't just save it for a rainy day, but if you have a plan.
Yeah.
And you want to designate monies to a plan, you can pool it for the purposes of the plan. So if you had an idea, 5 years, this is what we want to do in 5 years, you could pool resources in order to get to that plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because what I was thinking about was even when we talk about things in the opportunity districts and potential things with reference to infrastructure that we might do as the city to help make it more attractive when we put out a request for development. So if there were things that we could do from an infrastructure perspective that would make it more attractive to people bidding on it, is this something that could be utilized and earmarked for that?
But I mean, the economic
development
has to do the same thing. Economic development is a little more
And it's a
flexible.
little
You
more
have to do
flexible.
infrastructure, but it doesn't necessarily have to be applied to transportation related infrastructure.
The TDD could be a bigger swath.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And a higher percentage.
And a higher percentage.
1% instead of-
Can I ask about who the political subdivision is on the TDD? Can you remind me who appoints that, or they voted?
It's elected by the qualified voters of the district. So if you did a citywide TDD, it would be your residents that would vote. They would be your qualified voters. If you overlaid it on just a retail area, then it would be the property owners of those retail buildings inside that area.
That's interesting.
So it's the same as a SID essentially.
So city is not do not control those funds. Don't
Not
have a
on-
say.
Not on the TDD.
Not on TDD. There's more control in economic development.
Dream all we want, but
The only control would be when it is established. It's established through a petition with the circuit court, and you establish it, and you can give it qualifications. Then you can say it's going to be a half cent, and it's going to be pooled for 5 years to go for development of XYZ at year whatever. But other than that, yes, you all as a body would not have the say in how those dollars are.
Did Kirkwood vote on their, like the governing board? They did.
Oh,
Do you know? I was just wondering was it just during a general or municipal election? If not, I'll
They
look it
voted
up.
on its establishment.
Yeah.
But not on who's on it
Maybe
yet.
they did at the same time. I don't know.
I'm just interested in how that's gonna work and how that interplays with their council.
I'm not sure how they actually wrote it. I know that they were doing it to go in conjunction with their other capital dollars that they were doing road work on, that it's going to play with and assist that. But they also, I think, dedicated it just to improving streets in Kirkwood. So
How, can you explain, so the streets themselves are owned by the city, yet they have now funds to extend on city streets.
So they would have to come back to the city, I would think, to get approval. And the city's probably gonna then just take the money and run the project,
Public Works.
Gotcha.
you know, bid it out or whoever. And
So it's all in
Peter's
how
gonna
you
play
write it.
ball, yeah.
How is the economic development sales tax? Does that not apply to citywide?
And yes, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, you can for sure do an entire
This is what
city
I thought.
structure,
Okay.
or you can do individual locations.
So that was part of the Business Development Commission's discussion, was that was more flexible for citywide.
right, because we can't do a CID, that
Yeah.
would be the best, that's best.
Would you be taxing then home businesses on an economic?
Would be any sales tax. Anybody that's,
Like if I run an Etsy business out of my house, would I be paying into the economic sales tax?
The people who buy from you would be.
Yeah.
it's part of their tax. But not use tax.
But I'd have a responsibility to collect that as the Etsy owner.
That's,
As you
yeah,
s-
that's
do,
part of your.
yeah, it's
But
just,
it would get rolled into what the county still collects that, right? It's
Yeah.
not as if we have to set up a collection mechanism.
But if you're an Etsy owner, you're probably doing your business online, and so that's more use tax than sales tax.
Let's say
It's
your
a-
your home-based
Depends
business that
on-
makes something.
Yeah.
You had, that means you have
That's,
a presence here, so you're subject to sales tax.
yeah. You're making a product.
I think one thing that just kind of worries me with and I know we've been talking about this for a long time, and we really need to do something to help
our funding stream. I just am also very conscious of the cost of things for people right now. And the election earlier this month, you know, the word that keeps bubbling to the top is affordability. I know that we need to make this decision. I just want to, you know, reiterate, like, I want to be careful. And I think we are being careful. I just want to like raise that level of awareness that, you know, going back to people. And I like the economic sales tax option because it's not just Webster folks, it's folks who are coming in and spending time and money in our establishments. I think that's really important.
Well, let's be careful that we understand what the options are here. Not doing any of these is an option as well as each of those presented to us. So I don't want to have our discussion be that it's a foregone conclusion that we have to choose one.
Yeah, I
We
agree
may
with that.
want to choose one. Emerson, I'm sorry, I think I interrupted you.
Oh, no. Go ahead. Ben.
I am finished. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you know, depending on which discussion of the decision we make, our overall goal is to have less impact on our general funds so that we can do more for the city. I think when the residents can see exactly what's going to be done with the funds, I think they'll be more inclined to approve it.
Well, and even like, sure, doing more is great. We need to address the shortfalls of the cost of everything, you know, exploding and our revenue streams not. So that's a very real balance sheet consideration we need to be making. So yes, like we have a lot of exciting things to be thinking about and planning about. And also we have basic services that we need to maintain because people in Webster have become accustomed to a certain level of high level service.
The basic services and the high level of basic services is a real discussion point rather than focusing on more. Not to say that there's not some more, but it really is continuing to maintain services.
And that's what my thought was too, that whatever we decide to do or not to do, if we're going back and asking for something, that have a comprehensive discussion so that we're going once. You know, as opposed to going back and getting something on this ballot and then in the next year or 2 years, we're going back and asking for something more, you know, just trying to make sure that we're looking at it from a perspective that we can try to look at plan and how is it working into our overall plan, our comprehensive plan and the current amenities that we have to manage, but going like once and ask, because we just came back from $21 million bond, you know, so.
Yeah, well, and that's the fifth option, right? Like, I mean, I think you bring up a good point, Councilwoman, like, fifth option is to increase tax rate, which I'm not advocating for.
The property tax.
Property tax rate, which is an option. Particularly if you want to maintain.
Yeah, I think it's true. Like these are all good options that all do different things. You know, the fire one would bring in half the amount of the economic development one for the slide, right? And but the fire one would more directly help our operating budget.
Because it's freeing up.
Because and we you know, public safety fire is a big line item. So I like that because it feels like it would provide more relief immediately to our existing costs and to the costs that, you know, continue to go up with personnel costs. The economic development sales tax, I like it's larger. I know our business community really likes the idea of that too. But not all of that, I don't think, would go to offset our current costs. There are new costs that would come up with that. 20% of this and 25% of that. Maybe we need somebody to manage the whole thing and, you know, those types of things. So that's not all just going to go to offset our current costs. So I don't know that it's really double of what we would have of the impact that the fire sales tax would be. And the TDD just feels like a long range goal. Like if we wanted to do something like that, I don't feel like that's a today thing. I think like that needs a lot more fleshing out.
Here's the problem with that, and I like the fire sales tax. I think it makes sense. I think it's simple, but it's a bigger pie. And the question is, are they going to want more of that bigger pie rather than just keeping their current costs? And if I'm not mistaken, what's our current percentage to the fire department takes 55, so
Public safety.
public safety takes like 63% now.
There.
When I first ran in 2018, I think it was only 53%. So in 8 years, it's gone up 10%.
Well,
And
you're
that's my fear with the fire sales tax. I think it's easy, it's simple, I think people have voted, but I think that all they're gonna see, especially in CBA negotiations, is there's more of a pie that they can try to get. That's my fear, and it doesn't help with our general revenue fund.
The reality is that we are currently bargaining police, and so we will be having greater burden on our general fund, as we know, and next year we will start bargaining fire again. So everything that you said is correct. However, it shakes out with both police and fire, though. We know we're gonna have a higher burden to the general fund. So fire sales tax seems like the easier, and to repeat what you said, takes more of the burden off the general fund. The economic development sales tax, Mr. Davis was gonna share some additional things, because you're right, it's not a 1-for-1 in terms of general fund, but it does help, particularly in our business districts, help offset some of not only perhaps workload and costs, but from our park staff doing a lot of the maintenance there.
Yeah, I don't wanna, I feel like we were characterizing the economic development sales tax, and it's got a lot more parts to it, and I think it would be good to be talking about it with it in front of us, where you showed the breakdowns of what needs to go where. And so
Yeah,
if we, I just wanna follow up on Emily's
Like this one.
points by looking at it here.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to know, like, of the 1.4, how much do we think would help offset the general fund?
so I've got a couple of those fees where you're at now. So in the business districts right now, they are contributing just shy of $100,000 towards the landscaping beautification salaries for parks and public works staff to hang the garland, put new signs up, to do the landscaping and watering summer long. The advertising spend is just under $100,000 out of the 3 business districts right now. This is the new one that is gonna shock everybody a little bit. On Friday, we finally got the old Webster Novus parking garage comprehensive assessment back from our contractor, and we're looking at about $1.5 million to repair that parking garage, which is we currently do not have funded. Tear it down. So it's a it's a 2-story garage. It was built with TDD funds in early 2000s. I mean, that would be one option, is take off the top deck, but you lose 85-ish parking spots for your business district. Or you're looking at $1.5 million to fix it up and get another 15+ years of life out of it. So that could economic development sales tax will be able to go for that.
Well, I think one thing that Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, gave us was a graph showing us the gap between revenue and expenses. I think it went all the way out to 2030, if I'm not mistaken. And our work was to start closing that gap to whatever date. So we want to make these changes, that this gap is going to be closed by this time. But as long as that gap stays there, we're just twirling our thumbs.
And we did close it, and it's back. This last year, we need to pull from reserves to cover, our operating, which is fine. We have the money. We're healthy. It's fine for a while, but this revenue discussion goes into that.
Well, then too, like I always say, my responsibility here is to make it as best as possible for the next council that comes up. Because I might not be here, or whoever might not be here, but making decisions that can benefit the city out in the future.
In the past.
Do we need to make a decision tonight?
Well, can we get to that in a second?
Okay.
I do want to piggyback on the reserve discussion, because part of the reason reserves are there, if we feel like we need to buy some time to do a little more figuring of this out, whether it's develop a TDD, because I personally don't think we're ready for that. I don't think we've done the planning that was necessary for that. I'm not sure we have enough planning done for the economic development sales tax, although I think we could probably pull it off if that's the will of council. Obviously, fire's easy because we don't know what the police contract is right now yet. And I'd like to have a sense a little bit more. To Karen's point, I don't want to go out for the fire sales tax in April get the police contract put in place, get the next fire contract, and then the next year have to go again, and then the next year have to go again. I'd like to figure out a way to go out once. And maybe it's doing both the economic development and the fire. I know that's a tough sell, but it is one I think we need to ramp up a lot further in advance than right now. The other unknown variable here, and I don't want to count on it, is the county's got to do their use tax, whether they do in April, whether they do in August, or whether they do it in the fall. They have to go out. Will be a beneficiary of their implementation of the use tax because of the way the pooled sales tax works. And we don't know when that's going to happen as well. I guess my thing is, I feel like I feel like I am in an uncertain position about knowing everything I need to know. And it's not because staff hasn't given us all the information, because they have. And maybe I'm being unreasonable in wanting to understand economic conditions. It's just tough for me to make a choice right now.
That's fair.
Well, I do agree with David that when the fire district see that we're getting their money, they're gonna ask for it. And we'll be right back in the same.
It's like the Prop S funds a couple of years ago. It's like those have disappeared because they just kind of wrapped into everything else. And that was supposed to be specifically for public safety and assisting us and alleviating some of the budget burden, and did for a year.
So
Can we answer my question?
yeah, oh, go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Sorry, Pam, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna turn to Katie. What is the deadline? No, I saw your face. What's the deadline to get on the ballot?
Have it approved by the second meeting in January.
Second meeting in January. Thank you. And just as a reminder, I mean, putting it back on the agenda to discuss tonight was a council decision made several months ago. So we could get to this point in conversation. What I would really like, if council can do that, is even narrowing these further. If you think there's a possibility, is it the economic development sales tax that you would like more information on so staff can build that out? Is it the fire sales tax? And if it's none of these, that's okay too. Just some guidance in terms of next steps would be great.
Well,
Okay, well, let's stop there right there, because we do have a time on the regular agenda to make that decision. And so we can take a little break and start our regular meeting and pick up after where we are. After we talk to the municipal judge. All right, welcome to the November 18th meeting of the Webster Grove City Council. We welcome your questions, ideas, and comments if you are here or if you're on Zoom. We'll limit those, please, to 3 minutes so we can conduct our full meeting. If you would like to make a comment in the council chamber, please fill out a comment card, which are located over by the door, and we will call on you. If you are on Zoom, we will ask you to raise your hand at the appropriate time, and then we will call on you and unmute you so you may make your public comment. All right, we will start as usual with the call of the roll.
Mayor Arnold.
Here.
Councilmember Bliss.
Here.
Councilmember Franklin.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Alexander.
Here.
Councilmember Hickson Shepherd.
Here.
Councilmember Hassemeyer.
here.
All right, I erred this week in not finding one of our many amazing small businesses to come and accept the Small Business Saturday proclamation on behalf of our business community. So please forgive me for that. That doesn't mean we're not going to declare Small Business Saturday. We're going to do that as well, because I think you all know, because we just talked about in our work session, how much we value our small businesses. So I, Laura Arnold, Mayor of City of Webster Groves, and the entire City Council do hereby proclaim November 29th, 2025 as Small Business Saturday in the City of Webster Groves. And I urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday, which is celebrating its 16th year in 2025, and to shop small throughout the year. And with this proclamation, we will be included in a national list of Small Business Saturday participants. So that's always good. All right, next we've got remarks from community and visitors, and Mr. Dave Buck is the only card I have so far. So if you would like to speak, please do fill out a card.
There you go. Dave Buck, Colonial Village Apartments. Next week is Thanksgiving, and I've lived here 25 years, and I would be remiss not to come up here and to express my deepest thanks and gratitude for the city we live in, for city council and the job that you all have done, for city staff who has helped me out immensely on different things. And I want to also give thanks to city council for giving my little group of allies the freedom and independence to control our own destiny and put on 8 community events every year. We had one this last Saturday, Webster Grooves. You've been there, Pam. Our last one is this Saturday, which is Webster Sings, which is the amateur singing contest. I'm singing 2 songs, so.
Thank you, David. Which ones are they?
Oh, one is from Ragtime, Make Them Hear You, and then The Impossible Dream by Man of La Mancha. But I want to express the number one thing that I'm thankful for in the city. I told Lakota Group when I was talking to them about Webster Groves, I said, Webster Groves to me is Bedford Falls. And I said, I believe I'm George Bailey. I love Webster Groves. I never want to leave Webster Groves. I want to better Webster Groves however way that I can. But when Barb and I moved here and in the moral of the story at the end of the movie, when he opens up The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, he says, no man is a failure who has friends. When Barbara and I moved here in 2000 with our twins, Annie and Sawyer, 2 years old, Ashley was 12, we didn't know anybody. But we developed deep, close friendships, starting with Laura and David, the Hotelings, the Krautmans, the Powers, on and on and on, because all of our kids were in the same grade and we all grew up together. And it's been 25 years of superb friendships. And because of that, I'll never be a failure. I'll always be a winner because of the friends that here. And I love the comprehensive plan. I love the strategic plan, all that stuff. But none of it compares and none of it matters to me ultimately without the success of friendships. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Dave.
David.
I just want to say, hold on. I just want to thank you for what you do and who you are in our community. You are a treasure. I love all of your organizing. I love how genuinely in love with this city you are, and you're just such a treasure. So thank you. I'm thankful for you.
I have a lot, I have a lot of friends in this town, so it's really good. Thank you.
All right. Does anyone have any new business? All right. I forgot to check online. If you are online and you would like to make a community comment, please go ahead and use the raise your hand function. All right. I do not see any hands raised, so we will ask about new business. Is there any new business? Okay, we will go on to our regularly scheduled new business. And the first item is a review and remediation of Webster Groves municipal arrest warrants. And we have Honorable James Larritz, the municipal judge, who is here. And I do also, please come on up to the microphone. And I do want to acknowledge that Tina Flowers, our court administrator, is also with us today. Judge, thanks for being with us. Please go right ahead.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that you have seen and possibly discussed a report by our court administrator, Tina Flowers, about the problems we've had with the municipal warrants. Her memorandum explains it well. She has done great work, not only in discovering the problem, but in figuring out how to remediate it. and at a very reasonable cost for getting Regis to cancel all our warrants. We were afraid that was going to be some thousands of dollars, but it's some $400. So I really don't have any more to say besides what's in the report. If you have any more detailed questions, Tina is the one to ask. And I will say that she has done a wonderful job since she has been our new court administrator. And if it weren't for Tina, we would all still be walking in the dark about this. And whether there would be any repercussions, I would leave up to Mr. Bruntrager, but I think we're on our way to avoiding any possibilities of that. So does anybody have any questions for me?
Just really briefly, for those who may watch this video later, what we're talking about is a number of warrants, really 4,500 that are on file that are either inaccurate, they're unreliable, and that's due to a number of things, including some transitions. But this has developed over a period of many years. I want to make sure people understand that's not all of a sudden it's a problem right now, but this is over time, and it came on in part because of the combination of different court processes that were merged.
That's right.
So the general proposal here is to go ahead and void those warrants and go back in, focusing on the most serious first, to make sure what we have in the system are really warrants that need to be issued.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Just so everyone's clear that it's not like we're saying, hey, everybody just go run away, nothing matters anymore. That's not what we're saying.
Not at all. And it was in 2000 when the courts required us to switch from a program called Regis to one called Show Me Courts or CaseNet. And that's when the problems began, and unbeknownst to anybody who is around now. But yes, what Tina is going to do is going to get Regis to cancel all the warrants and then go through those one by one and see which ones are valid and need to be reissued, and see which ones are should be left alone, because some of these are from people who have already actually paid a fine, and that didn't get registered, and so there was a pretty much automatically a warrant issued. So she's well on her way. She's got a step-by-step plan, and so the court is taking this very, very seriously, and should be out of it in a short period of time.
I did have one question, and if you're at page 2 of the memo, and it's under mitigation measures under the police department, and so we're gonna, if someone is found to have a warrant under Webster Groves, the process won't be to actually, I don't know what the right word is, arrest, activate the warrant. The process will be that people will be given a new court date. The warrant has out of Regis. The court administrator is then going to verify. My question is, we know that frequently people just don't show up for court. What happens in this process if the person who's been given a new court date just doesn't come up? Is it treated like a new case would be treated, or do we know?
I think it would then issue a new warrant.
Okay.
But we'd know it was a valid warrant.
Okay.
Some of these are for people who have shown up. Some of these are for people whose case have been closed out. But if they are issued a new court date and they don't appear, then we can consider issuing a warrant, which would be valid.
Okay.
And make sure it gets in CaseNet.
Okay, great, thank you.
And Mayor, if I may,
Yeah.
that can also be, and Judge Laird can validate this. You'd issue the warrant on the existing case, but you could also then issue another charge called a failure to appear.
Okay,
And so there is a possibility of an additional case, but you could just add the warrant on the existing case and keep that in place.
Mayor, just confirming Judge Laris's comments.
okay, great, thank you.
So, Ms. Flowers, thank you very much for doing this. This is a Herculean task, it seems like, so I appreciate it. One thing I am a little concerned about is that it seems like maybe some of these cases might be a little old and someone's going to be receiving all of a sudden a court notice and they're going to be confused by that.
Yes.
So I would imagine our call value might increase. Do we have the manpower to handle that?
Right now, no, but I'm hopeful that we're going to have some assistance from the Office of State Courts Administrator. We've talked with them about our project here, and they do have some folks that are going to be able to help us out, hopefully. Just more details need to be given to them after we talk with Regis, because whenever I speak with Regis, I think they're going to give us a call next week. Jason Flannery and I want to make sure that I have the exact timeline down so that I can provide it to Dr. Peoples, the judge, and the leadership. So we'll have more information then. And then we were able to incorporate some of the folks from Moscow.
Excellent. I would imagine this is a problem at other municipal courts. They just might not know it yet.
You know, the transition from the previous court systems, Regis, over to Show Me Courts has been a challenge. And I've been out of court for a while in city government after I left Crestwood back in 2014 and went to work at the legal industry with law firms. I still have, you know, lots of friends that are in the municipal government area working in the courts. And it's been extremely challenging for all of them. There's, you know, the learning curve and then the confusion about warrants that are in one system versus another. Show Me Courts will automatically cancel, which is one good, you know, feature about Show Me Courts. Whenever the court cancels a warrant, police department automatically gets notified and it gets canceled. If it's in a Regis, if the warrant's in Regis, then it's up to the court staff to notify the police department. And I don't think that was happening in some of those older cases. But once we transition all of those warrants over to Show Me Courts, then we don't have to worry about, you know, those dual systems, and it's automatically going to be taken care of with the click of a mouse.
Excellent. Well, you're about to provide due process to about 4,500 people potentially. And I find that amazing and I appreciate your hard work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Can I also say that it's not unusual for people not to visit us for some years. And so they're always surprised when they get a notice saying it's time to come back to court for that 2019 traffic ticket. And also, this is going to be very, very labor intensive for the court administrator. So she needs all the help she can get on it.
I mean, what happens? I mean, they say it is a 2019 ticket and they moved and you sent it and the forwarding address is no longer being forwarded. I mean, do you issue a failure to appear then or?
Well, I mean, if we get a notice that you know, the address is no good, then no, we have to be assured that they've
actually received it.
So that's another one of those labor intensive things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much to you both.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yeah, thank you both. And this has been a lot of hard work and we look forward to hearing about the progress. All right. Now we can resume our new revenue stream conversation. All right. So as Dr. Peoples noted when we were in the work session, what she wants right now is direction from us. And so I think this is going to be one of those times where if we need further discussion, that is okay. But we also, I think each council member needs to state a preference about what we do right now. Sometimes that's the only way we seem to be able to move forward. So let's first have any discussion that remains.
Well, I would just say that I'm comfortable with maybe suggesting to remove one of the options. Removing the TDD. That's like the one that I feel like we are less prepared for. And I feel kind of like it would be irresponsible to go to the voters and ask for this money and say we're going to set it aside for something that's going to be great in the future. I just feel like that might be a difficult ask.
Okay, then let me ask this a different way. Well, is there anyone who wants to discuss that implication particularly?
I would. I love the TDD idea. I think it makes a lot of sense if we're going to talk about, and I thought Emerson brought up a great point about the idea of of decreasing the burden on our general revenue fund, I think this is the way to do it. Yes, there's some there's some intensive work that needs to be done in order to accomplish this, but I think it might be a hard sell, but we could, to me, it seems like our roads are always going to need maintenance. And it's one way to ensure that we can take other general revenue fund to use for something else going forward. That's my thought process. I think the fire one makes a lot of sense too. So if I am the lone dissent on the TDD, I would vote completely right now for the fire district one, or for the fire sales tax as well.
I would like to go all three, but my two that I would recommend would be the economic development tax and for the city existing fire protection sales tax. I think especially the fire sales tax, something that's going to immediately impose our general funds for the next 2 years. So we just need to start preparing for that. We might be just to keep a bargaining in good faith how it's going to put us financially at that time. But I think we need to increase that because I don't remember when was the last time that was increased. Do you know?
The fire sales
Fire
tax?
sales tax.
I don't think it's been increased since it was implemented.
Yeah, how long is that?
I don't know.
Off of my head, I can find out and email you.
What is that? Is that long ago?
That's
That
right.
it needs to be updated to current expenses for the fire sales tax. And I think the economic development, like that's not an immediate position on our residents. That's for individuals hopefully coming into our city and spending money.
And just as a point of clarification, when David and Emerson have made, is that to move forward on the April ballot, or is that to move forward with planning for this at a time to be determined? Because I think what the city manager really needs to know more than anything else right now is it about April?
I would say,
let's just make sure we're all clear about that.
I say yes, because
Okay.
I think back in May, when we were talking about, we were saying, should we go in August or should we go in November? Well, we bypassed those dates. So I see April of 2026.
Okay.
I don't know how to answer that question because I don't know what we really need in order to get the TDD on the ballot. In my mind, we can just go and say this is for the maintenance of roads. But I also understand that there's a lot of education and everything that needs to go with it. I also understand that it's a whole nother political subdivision. So there's some complicating factors, but I would be okay with putting it on the April ballot.
And even if you were to put it on the ballot, is there the capacity to say when it would go into effect? You know, so like I said, if we wanted to put them on the ballot, and we know that, for example, the TDD and the same questions I had earlier, just being able to target for, commercial development or something to help with the infrastructure. If we put that on the ballot, do all three of them have to go into effect at the same time? Or can you say that the TDD will go into effect in 2026 or 2027 and the others will go into effect here? Do they all have to be bundled and go into effect at once?
I don't know the answer to that. My expectation is that they would, if you're increasing from a quarter of a cent to a half a cent, I think it would go in right away. There are some that you can obviously set within the range. So you have your maximum approved voter rate. You can move it around within that rate. I don't think any of these apply that way, but I'd have to get you an answer to that.
Because like for the fire, we would be increasing that. The room that we have left in that original.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
we're just saying,
You're- We moved to a half cent.
Okay.
But we set tax rates in other areas. I don't think on these, these, you're actually setting a tax rate. So I don't think that you could approve a half-cent sales tax and then only collect a third of it. Does that make sense?
But, but we don't have, in terms of the economic development one, though, we don't have to approve the full
No,
1 cent, right?
that's
We can
right.
do a portion.
That's really, yes, you
Okay.
can. You
Yeah.
can, you don't have to go for the maximum that's allowed by the statute.
But even if you begin collecting it, you can still set it aside, earmarked for.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I want to be clear that I like the.
But you have to have a plan, not to, so, yeah.
I like the concept of the TDD. I just don't think we have the time to really set that up before April. I think that's something that we can put off into the future, maybe 27, to put that in place. But for the sales tax for the firemen and for the economic development, that's what I'm in favor for.
I'm
For
in the-
April.
I'm in the
Right.
same place, economic development sales tax and the fire sales tax increased on the April ballot. I like the economic development sales tax better because of the categories and the flexibility and the ways it can be used, even though there's specific percentages. I think it covers all the needs that we were talking about with that the TDD covers, plus some other things that would help benefit the businesses here.
Mhm.
Aren't economic sales taxes just by nature regressive? Like, doesn't the burden fall to those least among us?
Isn't that true for any sales tax?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess if we're gonna look at equity, like, I mean, if we're really gonna try to look at an equitable from an equitable lens, I don't think to me, an economic sales tax doesn't make a ton of sense.
How is that different for you than fire? Because they're both sales tax, so they're both gonna be by nature regressive.
I
But
will-
DDD is a sales tax too, by the way, right?
but it's the whole community then, right?
So the economic development sales tax would cover the whole city.
You were thinking in terms of like the CID, I guess, where it's.
No.
I mean, the other option is to do property taxes, which is,
Seems like the more equitable thing to do.
but then again, it's only on people that own property in Webster and doesn't pick up people who come to Webster to shop. So it depends on how we're looking at equity, I guess. I mean, for me, I could go with either the economic development one or the fire one. I think it's tricky to put them both on the same ballot. But I would be okay with either of them. I like the idea of a TDD, but I think we need to do more work on that. I think that's a down the road thing. And I'm not sure if the economic development one, if we're ready for that, or if we need to do more groundwork for that too, or if it's ready to go. But it does seem I think it would, help the budget, but I think it also gives our business community something that they've been looking for and some additional resources, which I think is also a positive.
If we are to consider the economic development sales tax, what do, like, timeline wise, we have to have this voted on by the second meeting in January, correct?
That's the same timeline for any of them.
Okay, but for the economic development sales tax one, we would want to have another discussion about that before that vote. Is that we would want this on the agenda again with more information? I'm asking, not quite sure if this is a real question.
Are you mean because we need to define what the council doesn't define the plan, the commission defines the plan and brings it to council. Is that right?
So staff would bring back the educational information, because any of these we would have to get ready, bring back the educational information. We would share that with council and of course go out to the public is that what you're asking? So any of these require a much further developed plan.
Okay.
Depending on which one was selected. If it's fire, then certainly we're going to work with the fire members on this as well. If it's the economic development, we would work with the various business districts on fleshing that out and defining it. So any of them are going to require quite a bit of footwork. And yes, it's a heavy lift for any of them if council were to move forward, but staff will be prepared to move forward.
Okay.
Because one of the things that was, Pam was sharing earlier, that one of the things that she liked about it was the flexibility, but that in coming back, that's gonna be, because I know we looked at this, however many months ago, but exactly what our options are in terms of what they could be spent for. There's more flexibility here, but then, so we would have to have that in place before we put it on the ballot, so that we're saying any funds generated from this tax are gonna be used for ABC.
Yes and no. We would need to be able to develop enough to put on the plan. I think Mr. Davis is going to share more, but depending on whether it's the TDD or the economic development sales tax, there's either the advisory body or the governing body that is going to be the recommending authority within the parameters in terms of how the question is written and placed on the ballot. And we don't have that language in front of us because we weren't prepared for that piece of the conversation. But when Miss Creighton visited with us, I think it was back in May, and then she was here, I believe she had some sample ballot language at that time. And so we would work on that further.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, the economic sales tax, we don't have to define the actual plan before the vote. I mean, obviously, we need to educate the voters what they're voting on, but the actual dollars and cents of what the money would be spent on wouldn't come until after the voters approve the tax, the city creates the board, and then the city staff would prepare that spending plan, take it to the board would modify it, adjust it, approve it, send it to council for council's final resolutions on it. So that full spending plan for economic development sales tax does not have to be done by end of January when you need to take a vote.
Okay.
So Mayor, I guess our first decision, I guess, which one do we want to put on the ballot?
So hold on, we have two more people that we need, or three, because I haven't. We're doing a little poll here that I'm keeping track of. So Karen and Jamie, are there things that you want to move forward, and if so, what are they?
From a time perspective, I mean, I would say the economic and the fire. I mean, I like the fire because I like the
in fashion. His hosts were extremely courteous.
Very courteous.
That's my
All in all,
my Chinese.
Your book?
Yeah, she was the Empress Dowager.
Jamie, why don't you go ahead and speak so Karen can.
I'll create a diversion. I am in favor of the economic development sales tax. And if we're looking at coupling them, I guess the fire as well, but I don't necessarily need the two of them together. It actually makes me a little bit nervous. I think voters might choose one over the other.
I mean, I like both of them because of again, with the economic development, the flexibility, the fire, because of the relief that it would do on the rest of the budget. And because if we're gonna go out, I would rather go out at one time asking for what we're asking for, as opposed to coming and coming again.
Yeah.
Asking for more every other year.
Okay, so what our little canvas has suggested is we're not ready for the TDD. There is not a majority of council that has indicated they're ready to that, but there is a majority of council that wants to see and vote on legislation to send both the economic development and the fire sales tax. And you're just gonna have to figure out whether you want to vote for one or both. And I think that does, and it doesn't have to be decided right now, and maybe we would like a recommendation from the city manager. If we're sending them both, do we want the economic development sales tax at the full 1%, or do we want it lower?
Aren't voters gonna go into the voting booth and pick one, and we don't know which one, and we're gonna not get either of them passed?
Say that again, David?
You're gonna, I'm just thinking about myself. If I'm an average voter and I'm gonna go in and vote only for one, I don't want both. I think we just talked about affordability. And we're gonna go in and say, select one, but we're not telling them which one to select. And easily enough, I think that there's a possibility that the votes could be splits enough that neither of them pass.
Yeah, but the key is that in our educational process that we put out there, if they take the time to see, they will understand, I believe, that the fire protection sales tax is going to be an immediate impact on them. But the economic development tax is, yes, those coming in or buying in Webster, they'll pay that sales tax to help offset some of our expenses. I mean, not our expenses, our development.
Well, I think this might be a conversation that we continue because a majority of the council has said they're willing to at least entertain putting both of these on the ballot. And so you raise it, I think, a very good point. I do agree that part of it will be dependent on education, but I think what this means, and maybe city attorney, city manager, any member of council might interpret this differently, but that we should on our December 1st, our December 2nd agenda have a piece of legislation for each of these that we then will proceed with the regular formula of first and second reading and so on.
For including the TDD?
No, not the TDD. There was not a majority of council members who wanted to continue that discussion right now.
Because right now we're saying, which do we want more information?
No, the question is, do we want to put it on the ballot? Do we want legislation in front of us that we decide yes or no to put it on the ballot?
Yeah, and I think, is it possible to get some updated numbers, I guess, from May? Will they change a lot or?
Well, yeah, it'd be good to see the comparison. I know Ms. Creighton had all the other municipalities and their total.
We've been engaged with Ms. Creighton. We did not invite her here this evening because it would have been the exact same presentation. If there are new numbers to get from her, we will request them and see if she can come. We'll certainly do that.
Good.
I just don't know if there's a difference in what she presented last time, Councilman Bliss,
Well,
but I
I
will
mean,
find that out.
Remember what they were. I mean, we had 10 municipalities with all the different ones, and I can imagine, I think I know, but.
Sure, no, we'll get that provided. I believe city attorney had a clarifying date.
Yeah, I'm looking at the calendar, I'm sorry, the 2026 Missouri election calendar. And for the April 7th date, the last day for candidate filing is December the 30th. Don't we have to have the initiatives approved by then? Certification is the end of January,
No.
is the 27th of January. All right, as long as we get it by the certification date. Got it, okay.
Yeah. January 27th.
Yes.
Final.
You're right.
In the work session, I know you and Council Member Alexander both talked about wanting to have a bigger plan, wanting to have kind of an idea, and we haven't really talked about that in here. Does that play into this discussion?
Well, for me, I wanted this discussion to be, at least in part, our discussion about reserves. I don't think we're ready to have that conversation, and that may influence what I decide to do in terms of voting. But I think the majority of the council wants to have this in front of us, and so I think we need to go ahead and have that vote and make a decision on that. In terms of a bigger plan, I would like a bigger plan, but I also recognize there are lots of uncertainties that our staff and we have no control over. So in my perfect world, would I have as much more information than this? Absolutely, but it's not a lack of our staff not giving us information. It's more the world's uncertain right now. So that's just my response to that.
Okay. I mean, I think what Councilmember Franklin and I both said was we're kind of concerned that we're pitting ourselves against ourselves if we put both on there and, maybe neither of them pass because we're,
Yeah.
So I would be curious to know, as we help get education out and think about the education plan, are the people who would help us promote one versus the other, will they support each other? Will the business district also say, the fire one's important? Will fire also say the business one is important? Or are they going to be competing interests?
So I think we as council members, before we have this vote in early December, have an obligation to go out and find that out. Yeah. Talk to business owners, talk to our fire union, talk to, I think, also people in the community, because, that, I don't think that answer is going to magically come to us. We're just going to have to collect the information. And I'm happy if we want to try and put together an informal meeting with some of our small business leaders or some of the members of our different boards or commissions in the interim. I'm happy to help put together something like that. We'll have to do it quickly if we're going to do that, just to hear from them.
I don't think it changes the idea of putting it on the agenda for the December 2nd meeting. I don't think this changes that. Just might inform our votes at that meeting.
I don't know where we're at now.
I think we're both of them, staff's gonna prepare legislation for both of them, and we are gonna have to educate ourselves and make a decision about whether we as a council are gonna be willing to send one or both. And if we send both, do we send the full economic sales tax number or do we send a lower number? And that will be easy to amend if we need to amend the legislation, because it's just fill in the number.
So staff will give us an indication if we go 1/4%, 1/2%, things of that nature. It'd be great if we can get that done in December.
Well, that's why I'm suggesting that we have the first and second reading in that first meeting in December, because then if anything happens or changes that, or we decide we magically need some other number from staff, there's some time to get that done.
Yeah.
I don't know what that other number would be, by the way.
Because we'd still be looking at the language to see if we want one or both.
Correct.
Well, not necessarily the language, would it? It'll be the impact.
But I mean, what the language?
Both.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we have finished that topic. Do you feel adequately instructed by counsel?
Uh-huh.
All right, well, that's good then.
You could have pulled a Pam Bondi and just not answer the question.
Oh, she would then start yelling at me if she was paying bond. She's not gonna, all right, so I'm gonna not even bother to ask if anyone wants to talk anything about the consent agenda, council member. I got a question.
I had
so
a
I'm just gonna go
question
straight to that.
about, I don't know that we need to pull it off, but could we learn more about the vehicle? And, specifically, like, is this traffic enforcement vehicle one that we had already planned to purchase in this fiscal year and now we're getting grant dollars so that helps our budget, or is this a new purchase that wasn't already in our budget?
This is not a purchase that was in our budget. I welcome Chief Aceves to come up and speak. So this is from one of the Blue Shield grants that council approved. Council approved us engaging in the Blue Shield. We had to do some language for that. So it approves an additional car purchase, to your question, Councilman Hickson Shepherd. The conversations that I've had with Chief Aceves is, of course, this adds to the maintenance load. And at the point in time where the car would be decommissioned, that always adds an additional car. So would we actually decommission the car? Would we then want to add one? Much like a staff person through a grant. It's very hard to let that staff person go afterwards. I think that's where you're going with the question. It is still quite a boon to be able to have a funded vehicle and to have it for a dedicated purpose. So if you'd like to say a couple words about it.
Sure. If you could repeat the question so I can make sure that I answer the question properly.
Well, I was just curious if we had already budgeted for this vehicle. And so the grant dollars were then like, helping the overall budget because we would have a grant funded car instead of a general fund or, other funds for that. And it doesn't sound like it was budgeted, that this would be a new car, an unplanned car, but that would be covered.
That's correct.
By a grant. Will the 50,000 cover the whole cost?
Yes. Yes, this car was not in the budget. This car is being made available to us specifically through the Blue Shield grant. And as far as your concerns about the fleet itself, as Dr. Peoples mentioned, we are kind of abiding by our plan that we use to cycle vehicles in and out to try to offset some of those maintenance costs. And what we're also optimistic about in line with the Blue Shield program is there's going to be other grant opportunities coming up for not just vehicles, but for other types of equipment. And we're hoping at some point that some of those things that are going to be made available to us will help offset some of those initial costs for the vehicle maintenance. Not 100% positive, but I'm optimistic about it.
So we think this is budget neutral for us. It's not helping our budget. It's not adding costs to our budget. It's not gonna make our maintenance costs go way up.
I'm only smiling because these are all questions I already asked Chief Acebes, and he was like, it's a grant, it's a free car.
Yeah,
It-
so
It is budget neutral for now. It will not be budget neutral in the future because we will have to maintain the vehicle. But it is budget neutral currently and probably for the next 2 years.
yeah, I think that's a good estimate. And additionally, the flexibility it's going to give us in terms of the enhanced traffic enforcement that it's going to allow us to achieve as a department and as a city. I think that that's going to offset some of the concerns that you may have.
And I'd also like to thank Councilwoman Bliss because she pointed out to me that it's a hybrid, yes?
Of course,
Of
course.
That's great. And I appreciate that only because we have made a commitment to try to turn over our fleet where it's possible. So thank you.
Welcome.
Kind of surprised that the state hasn't given you guys a police protection district tax yet. The fire gets it. Have you heard any rumblings about that?
No, I haven't. And not enough to be able to give you any sort of comprehensive answer right now, but
I feel like this legislature would do that.
Yeah.
But, just thinking through this.
Who knows? Cross your fingers.
Well, I mean, the voters would still have to approve it, but yeah, I think it would be an additional revenue stream that would be beneficial.
All right, I'm going to bring us back to the consent agenda. Is any other? Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you all.
All right, I think then, Councilmember Hasselmeyer, could you call for the approval of the consent agenda, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to call for the approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilmember Bliss,
Yes.
Councilmember Franklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander, Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Hasselmeyer.
Yes.
Mayor Arnold.
Yes. All right, we have no appointments to boards or commissions, but we do have a motion for closed session, please.
Yes, Mayor, I move to have an executive closed session related to Missouri Statute 610.021 subsection 1 and Missouri Statute 610.021 subsection 13.
Second.
Councilmember Franklin.
Yes.
Councilmember Smith,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander, Councilmember Hickson Shepherd,
Yes.
Councilmember Hasselmeyer,
Yes.
Mayor Arnold,
Yes.
Councilmember Bliss.
Yes.
All right, thank you for being with us. We'll reconvene for those of you who are participating in the closed session in the Gordon room.